Another night painted in red and blue. Sirens scream like they already knew. Empty eyes stare from the shattered glass. Another memory carved that will never pass. I hear the echoes calling my name. Every shadow still looks the same. Can't wash away the blood or the shame. The street remembers, it won't change. Chalk lines on the pavement, ghosts I can't erase. Scars in the concrete, written on my face. War drums in my heartbeat, fury I can't tame. Chalk lines on the pavement, nothing stays the same.
Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative.
In the shadows where the truth hides deep, echoes of the lost and the secrets they keep. Cold cases burn in the back of your mind. We dig through the dark, one clue at a time. This ain't fiction, this is blood, this is truth. 12 Gauge investigative, justice uncaged. We ask the questions they're too scared to say, shining a light where the guilty pray. From killers to whispers, we won't look away.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Welcome to you lovely ladies in the chat. I hope you are all doing well. Happy Monday. Happy Labor Day. Labor Day. I got on here because I was listening to Tony, I think that's his name, Tony Bruschi. And he was cracking me up with his video. So I was like thinking to myself, you know what? If this stuff is true, this is too good to keep to myself. And I need to give Tony some more props for doing this video because this is hilarious to me about Bryan and his dating, if you want to call it that, his dating history. So, how's everybody doing today? Y'all enjoying your Labor Day? His name is Tony Bruschi, and he is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. And he puts a lot of videos out. But this one was cracking me up, so I thought I'd share it with you guys just in case y'all hadn't seen it. You know, he's cracking me up with this video. PKC for reals. I mean, I was like, bro, your commentary's on point today. But anyway, let me try to play this before this laptop decided to go crazy like it did last night. If you weren't here last night and you were watching, you understand what I'm talking about. It's a short video, and we'll talk a little bit more about some other stuff, but I want to talk about this for a minute.
This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
She swiped right. That's how it started. A normal match on Tinder somewhere in late 2022. He said his name was Bryan. He was a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. He was a little awkward, but he wasn't rude. He asked questions, seemed interested in her studies, nursing at the time. She assumed he was just nervous, maybe shy. That didn't bother her. In fact, she kind of liked that he wasn't one of those overconfident, cocky types.
Nervous and shy. Wow, imagine that. Not rude, a little nervous.
Then, mid conversation, out of nowhere, he asked her what she thought was the worst way to die.
Wow,
She paused,
bro.
staring at her phone. The question felt a little strange, not in a playful, would you rather?
Okay. Out of nowhere, the first question out of his fingertips is, what is the worst way that possibly could die? Would you automatically say, okay, no, not this guy, not this guy? Or would you keep talking? Let's see what let's see what this person said.
Kind of way. It was clinical, dry. Like it wasn't meant to spark flirtation, but to gather data. Still, she answered. She said probably stabbing, a knife, it'd be painful, prolonged, personal. He allegedly responded with, like a K-bar?
Whoa!
She had to Google it. K-bar, a fixed...
What? What? The question is, what's the worst way that you could possibly think of dying? She said, just casually, probably stabbing, whatever. And he said, with a K-bar? Whoa. That just blew my wig back. That just blew my wig back. Wow.
blade combat knife used by the military. Thick, heavy, designed for close combat. The kind of knife you don't carry around unless you have a reason. She replied with a nervous laugh, allegedly, suggesting something like, I guess so, and changed the subject. He didn't.
What?
She unmatched him within the hour. When Bryan Kohberger's face appeared on every screen in America, charged with murdering 4 college students in Moscow, Idaho, she didn't need to double check. She recognized him immediately. The conversation came back in full. The K-bar wasn't a random reference. It was specific. It was deliberate. And now it was horrifying.
Okay, so the first person, not the first, but one of the first people that we're talking about, she swiped right. She said, you know what? He looked a little shy, a little quiet. She was actually turned on by that a little bit. That he wasn't cocky and rude and all that. He was kind of quiet and shy. She was digging it. And then the first question out of his little fingertips as they're texting, what is the worst possible way that you could die? Like he said, she was taken back from it a little bit. But she was still going to play along. She said, probably a stabbing. And Bryan went up. You mean by a K-bar? A K-bar? Uh-oh. Let's see what she did.
And she wasn't alone. Another woman, a dancer who worked in a club in Pennsylvania, came forward with her own story. This was years earlier, 2019. The memory was still clear. He came in alone, didn't drink, didn't talk much. She danced for him, expecting the usual awkward eye contact or dumb small talk. Instead, he looked at her and said, I want to kill people, allegedly. First, she thought he was trying to be edgy, and she joked, who? Expecting a laugh, a clarification, something to break the tension. And he just shrugged, whoever I want. Wasn't a punchline. It was flat, measured. She said he asked her strange questions during the set. Where did she live? What kind of car did she drive? You know, the type of things you ask a stripper.
I've asked strippers a lot of different questions. I've never told a one, not one, that I wanted to kill people. I didn't ask her what car she drove, where she lived. That was not ever in the conversation. But for some reason, Bryan thought, you know, what the hell? Let me throw my shot. Let me throw my shot. I'm not being weird. I'm just being curious, right? That's Bryan being curious, trying to make small talk.
To make the moment less uncomfortable. Where do you live? What's your real name? Are they real? He told her to look him in the eyes, allegedly, like it was a test. She left the stage unsettled, not afraid exactly. There's creepy people coming in and out of those places all day long.
Of course.
But creeped out enough to avoid him if he ever came in again. He didn't, and she forgot about him for years until that mugshot resurfaced. That's a face you don't forget when you're asking questions like that at the club. Same face, same eyes, and now
only a face a mama could love, right? Oh, like I said, I don't know if these are verified or these have been debunked. I just thought they were funny as hell, and especially his commentary going along with them. I mean, come on. You're going to a strip club. You're not drinking. I get that. He got a table dance, obviously. So he said, I'm going to get this girl alone. And then in the middle of the dance, he said, I want to kill people. What? What? You want to kill people? Okay. Who? Anyone I want. All righty then. Creeper of the night.
Word she once laughed off had a very different meaning entirely. There was a nurse in training as well, a different city, different time, different pattern. She matched with Koberger online and exchanged a few messages, like you do. Nothing deep, just surface level stuff. Then suddenly he dropped a comment she'd never forget. You have good birthing hips. Hey, do you like the new Mexican place in town? You have good birthing hips. Just in case we ever go on that first date. Should I knock you up? You got good birthing hips. I mean, no context, no lead-in, just that.
Wow.
She was stunned, not flattered, not amused, just disgusted. She blocked him immediately. And she chalked it up to bad dating app etiquette. A creep. Fishing for a reaction, but now it feels a lot less like bad flirting and more like an exposure to how he truly saw women.
Oh, yeah.
As something to study, evaluate, control. Not partners, not people, subjects. These weren't just awkward interactions. They were rehearsals, one might say.
Let me stop right there. Let me stop right there because, Tony's onto something right there. He really is. Do you remember it always appeared like Bryan was doing, like you said, research, reconnaissance, getting information that would be useful later on. So, we've never heard of a motive. We've never heard of a connection to the four. So, how could it be possible? Let me just throw this out there, just for the sake of talk, okay? Could it be possible that maybe Bryan was asking around after the pool party with one of his students or possibly a couple that maybe he felt comfortable with about popular places to go party in Moscow? It seemed like there was a lot of people that knew about this house. Maybe that's how he really got involved in all this, because you ask the right question to the right person. You don't even have to know those people. You get what I'm saying? You don't.
When all these stories started coming out after the arrest, after the police reports were unsealed, more women began looking back, replaying odd conversations. remembering those moments that felt a bit off, but not dangerous. One woman who worked at a local coffee shop remembered how Kohberger used to come in late in the day, always when the cafe was nearly empty. He never ordered anything complicated, just the same thing. And then he just stood there, stared a bit too long, and always seemed to appear when she was the only one working the counter. One day.
Now you tell me, okay? I don't know how many of you have ever worked in customer service, but imagine being a barista, right? Imagine being a barista, and the same dude comes in and orders a coffee. No biggie, no biggie. Everybody's entitled to ordering coffee, right? But after he gets the coffee, he doesn't go sit down. He doesn't small talk with you. Just sit there and watches you. Once again, doesn't make him a killer, but he's still exhibiting a behavior that people remember. So if people remember this quote unquote creepy behavior, the more you put yourself out there like that, isn't it feasible that people were onto you even before people were onto you? You get what I'm saying?
He said her name. Now, that's not a crazy thing. You're at a coffee shop, maybe Pets was going to name tag on, and they're being friendly. They're addressing you by name rather than yes, ma'am, yes, sir, whatever. The problem is she didn't have a name tag, and she never told him her name.
Oh. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Wow. He addressed her by name. She didn't have a name tag on. Well, maybe, he could have got her name from the receipt. If we're going to be that kind of person, maybe he got her name from the receipt. But let's say her name wasn't on the receipt, because usually it just has initial and last name or something like that. How did he know her name without a name tag, supposedly?
He never introduced himself either. Wasn't it, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Bryan? No, it was just, I know too much about you, and I'm not going to tell you how. But he said her name like he'd always known it. She asked her coworkers to alert her whenever he came in after that, so she wouldn't have to go out to the counter and make him his chai latte or whatever he was ordering. That's not
okay. If we're gonna say those 9 people at the university that their complaints were off the wall, they lied. They were just trying to get Bryan, people were trying to frame him, all that BS, right? But now we got more people that are just coming out and saying this, that, and the other. And you're like, okay, when this dude comes back for his chai latte or whatever the hell he drank, let me know, because I'm going to go to the back. I don't want him sitting there just staring at me. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to be here. Okay, so there's 4 people right there. We got the stripper, 2 nurses, and birthing hips. We got 4 people that made him feel uncomfortable. Made them feel uncomfortable. And 2 of them, he asked very deliberate questions.
not in the story. That's a question I do have, though. What did Kohberger order? I've tried to find it. I can't. Wouldn't that be it? I'm going to guess it's something very
Feminine.
not special.
Feminine. Say it. Feminine.
I guess it's like black coffee or something. Just nothing to it.
Say it.
Or black coffee with like a very specific odd ingredient, like with a teaspoon of salt or something weird.
No.
You know, he seems like the teaspoon of salt in a cup of coffee type of guy.
Say it. Feminine, yes.
She
Feminine.
switched shifts and she stopped walking to her car alone.
What?
Later, police would discover that Koberger had a habit of showing up where he wasn't expected, a pattern, not just stalking victims, but surveilling people. Or as he called it, flirting. Or stargazing. He timed his entries, studied how people reacted to him. I mean, it's easy to dismiss these things in the moment. No laws were broken, no threats were made, just weird comments, creepy vibes, conversations that made the air in the room feel heavier. But looking back, these women all share the same realization. It wasn't just off-putting, it was intentional. He didn't want to flirt. He wanted to study, to prod, to find the edge of what someone would tolerate. One of the most disturbing revelations came from a student who sat near him in class. During a study group, he asked what they thought a killer felt while stabbing someone. The room went quiet. No one answered.
Wow.
He didn't laugh.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's like a fart in church type stuff. You know what I mean? Like, let me sit down. By the way, what do y'all think about killing? The room goes silent. He took the air right out of the room. Wow. Once again, doesn't make him a killer. It does make him odd as fuck. Excuse my lingo, but it really does. I've known guys like this that they come in and they just kind of they suck the air right out of the room. You could be having a good, funny conversation, and out of nowhere, they bust in with a joke that's so inappropriate. It's kind of like everybody's like, "What? Who? What, bro? What?" He happened to bust in with his line. Hey, so let's talk about killers. What about killing? Bryan, bro, we weren't even talking about that.
Explain himself. Just sat there waiting as if he expected someone to entertain the question.
Yeah.
That moment stuck with her, not because of what he said, but because no one else said anything. They all just moved on.
Yeah.
And that's how these moments stack up, quietly, separately,
exactly,
somewhat forgettably.
Right.
Until one day they don't. Until someone says, I'm going to kill people. To a stripper.
Yeah.
And later does. Until someone references a K-bar knife. And then one is found at a crime scene where the sheath is. Until someone compliments your birthing hips like your livestock and then vanishes from your inbox without a trace. Until a man who couldn't handle rejection becomes the suspect in a quadruple homicide. These women weren't victims in the legal sense, but they were targeted. They were part of his behavioral timeline. They were test subjects for whatever was building inside of him. And they knew even back then that something was wrong. They just didn't have a name for it yet. He wasn't awkward. He wasn't shy. He was practicing. And now the world knows what for. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. If that's where you're watching us, just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi to find us there. Or
well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tony. I mean, that is just. Hey, Jeff, you got some time to come up and chat with me? I would like a chatter up here with me because I want to talk about this with somebody. I'm gonna put the link down here, all right? I know you probably haven't watched this all, but you guys tell me. You know, we've been talking about this case for a long, long time. We've been going over documents. We've been going over videos. We've been going over all kinds of stuff. We've had debates. We've had arguments. We've had name calling. We've had all this stuff. Just because you're socially awkward does not make you a killer. Okay, I get that. Nobody's talking about being a killer today, other than the people who he graced their presence and asked that question. So you're getting a lap dance and you're like, oh yeah, baby. I want to kill people. Yeah, who? Anyone I want. Whoa. Whoa. I bet she said, boop. I jumped off him. I I I didn't even entertain that 1 second. You know, no way. No way. The two nurses having the conversation online with him because they were interested in Bryan. At least we know that Bryan was not as incelish as most people have thought. At least he was throwing his shot out there. He was missing more than he was hitting, but at least he was throwing his shot out there, right? So, what the worst possible way that you could possibly die? He asked one. She commented to the point of probably being stabbed because it'd be painful, be personal, this, that, and the other. She's trying to entertain him. And then he bust out with a K bar? If these are true, y'all, if these are true, you can't deny that this bro did what he was suspected of doing. I mean, because if this is true, you can overlook some coincidences, but after a while, you got to look at it and be like, okay, I can't be naive anymore. I can't be naive anymore. And I can't be defending somebody who has limited social skills and appeared to be a freaking stalker and a hunter of people. Because you tell me, anybody, any female, any male, because there's female serial killers, there's female spree killers, there's female killers. Anybody that you know starts talking about this the first or second conversation you ever have, that's not going to throw you off a little bit. I mean, I can understand you flirting around and saying, what do you like to do? What's some of your fantasies? Blah, blah, blah. But somebody bust out with, I want to kill people? And you're getting a lap dance? You're giving them a lap dance and you're saying, whoa, that's like the brakes are going off in your head. And you're saying, what the? Who the hell did I just get a lap dance from? Honestly, I'm sure he's not the only one that's ever gotten a lap dance who became famous for killing people. Because, like I said, when I used to frequent those places, you saw a lot of shady ass people who didn't want to walk among society or shouldn't have been walking among society. And there was a lot of dancers that would feel creeped out from certain patrons. And you frequent those areas enough, you start learning the dancers, and you kind of develop a rapport with people. And our table used to be the big table, where everybody, even the dancers and everybody else, kind of lingered because we were regulars, I guess. Well, I'd hear all these stories. That dude just asked me to go home with him. He said he wanted to dip me in honey and blah, 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 and all this, that, and the other. All the weirdest fetishes, fantasies that you could possibly ever hear from somebody. But to hear that somebody wanted to kill somebody, and then when the dancer asked him who, he says, anybody I want. The birthing hip comment really kind of trips me out a little bit because I wonder if he viewed one of the females as potentially having birthing hips. Hey Jeff,
Hey, how's my birthing hips?
long time no see. I mean,
Can you
long time no hear.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. So how's my birthing hips? Are they
I
all
don't
right?
know. I've never seen them. I don't want to see them. I'm not interested. Sorry. I mean,
Good.
there might be some women.
I'll keep
Just
asking around, I'm sure that's what
just
Bryan was doing, right?
just just do not ask them the first question out of your mouth. What's the worst way that you could possibly be killed?
Right.
Or no,
Right.
let me rephrase that. What's the worst way you could possibly die?
Is that what he said?
Yeah, one of them supposedly he asked her, "What's the worst possible way that you could ever feel or be kind of scared of dying?" And she
Wow.
said, "Well, stabbing, it's personal. It would hurt, blah blah blah." And then he bust out with a K bar,
Jeez.
and the lady had to go and Google what K bar was, and you know, she quickly, unmatched with him.
Huh.
Another one was a dancer, Jeff. He went to a strip club. Get this. He went to a strip club, and I've repeated this story a couple times already. So
Yeah.
subs, y'all kind of bear with me. He's getting a lap dance supposedly, right? And out of the blue, the first question out of his mouth is, or the first statement, "I want to kill people."
Jeez.
The dancer says, "Who?" And he says, "Anyone I want."
Interesting. That makes with a comment like that, it makes me wonder, or it brings to my mind is like, yeah, you target a house, you don't necessarily target the people. Perhaps. He just wanted anyone. He just want. It sounds like he just wanted to experience what that felt like to do that.
I mean, there's socially awkward people that make comments like that, and you're kind of like laugh it off because you've known them for a while. You're like, "Oh, that's just so and so. He's just being a
Right.
dumbass or whatever," right?
Or they're kind of simple minded, and they're like innocent,
Yeah.
like somebody sharing their issues with hemorrhoids or something openly in public. Like, hey man, dude, you don't have to talk so loud. Are those hemorrhoids cleared up, by the way? 12 gauge. I just was checking with you.
Yeah. Hey, 12
Yeah. See
gauge,
that that
did you
awkward.
know I got a hemorrhoid last week? You really should try Tuts. It works.
Oh man. It was like, you remember, the comedian George Carlin. He had a joke where he said, isn't it embarrassing when you're in a party and all of a sudden there's a lull in the conversations with everybody. It's just kind of quiet, and that's the moment where you say, I'm thinking of having my testicles shellacked. That was his joke. It's like, you
Well,
didn't mean for.
here's another story, okay? Tony said that he went to a group of people and they were busy talking about meandering, whatever, and he starts talking about killing people. Seriously, he doesn't laugh. He makes some comment about killing, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't, usually you wait for somebody to be awkward and they start laughing. "Oh, Bryan, you got us. There you go again." Talking about
Yeah.
all the time. It's just a PhD student. Don't mind him. Nothing. It was as dry can get, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. And he was waiting for somebody to grab that hook, and nobody did.
Yeah, it's kind of like it sounds like he takes pleasure out of people being uncomfortable, which makes me think that during the victim impact statements, he must have just been on cloud nine, just loving it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a miracle he didn't talk because what awkward shit could have came out of his mouth.
Yeah, yeah. I bet Anne was well aware of that because she probably got to hear a lot of that stuff. Like he's probably like, "What if I said this?" It's like, I was
No.
only intending to kill 2, not 4. And Anne's like, "Just shut up, don't say a word."
There you go. There you go. I could see that. I could see that because he did give that apparent that he would just be blurting stuff out.
Yeah,
Like how much of it was for shock value, or how much was it just that's who he was? You know what I mean? Because we don't know his personality. We're hearing this stuff, and it sounds kind of
yeah.
shocking to say the least. But you know,
You think I kind of wonder if he's just somebody who was bullied a lot, and in a sense, there's and and just like anybody, any traumatic situation, or you run into people then in your future life that remind you of the people that traumatized you when you were younger. And I can't help but wonder if he just didn't see people like his victims as reminding him of people like that, or that's the
well,
type
I
of
get
people.
that. I get that, but yet, to be saying that to somebody that you met on Tinder and you're saying that over the phone, you don't
Yeah,
even know what this person. You know what I mean? He
that's a lot of
swiped right.
confidence right there,
I
to
mean,
do
I
that.
don't know. That is pretty ballsy, but I mean, like, how would you take it if you meet somebody randomly and the first question out of their mouth is, Jeff, have you ever thought what it would be like for somebody to fillet you?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, how would you take that? You just met this person a couple minutes ago, and that's their first statement. I mean, that's not what he said, but it would be an awkward statement like that. So, Jeff, you ever you ever thought about being filleted?
The next thing I would be hearing is 911. How can I help you? Hi, yeah, this is Jeff. I got something to report.
Something just happened in our house, and we don't know what.
Exactly.
It's like Jeff.
I think that I'm glad you said that. I have said that so many times recently that sums it up right there. What she said. Something's happened in our house, and we don't know what. And unless you're one of these pro burgers that think, oh, she's in acting class and has got winning an Oscar in this acting job that she's doing, which I think is just a bunch of BS. Um, that sums it up. That's where she is at that moment. That's she's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Something's happened in the house. We don't know what.
Right.
And I'm sure most of the night, her and Bethany were trying to figure out, just the fact that Bethany says in the police interview, I think I read, and if I'm wrong on this, tell me, correct me, but I thought I read that it was around 2 p.m. on November 13th. They're interviewing her, and she makes mention that she thought the possibility of being pranked, was a possibility.
Yeah, I
I
remember
mean,
that.
which totally makes sense. If Dylan is coming to you and you're saying, "I saw a guy all in black. It was really wild," and you're like Bethany, and you're like, "Well, I mean, could it have been Xana? She was wearing all black. I mean, do you think they're pranking us?" They get pretty cruel sometimes. These frat guys, and who knows? Maybe it's Ethan's trying to pull our leg, and you know, I just
Well,
think it amazes me. I don't understand. I wasn't there. I don't understand all that Dylan went through. And the last thing I'm going to do is try and say, I have concluded that she's involved. I have concluded that she played a part. I've concluded that
right.
she was part of the cleanup. I have concluded that she's an evil person. Really like that Bryan guy. But this Dylan is a monster. It's like, it just makes no sense to me, except if it's like I'm on camera and these YouTubers love to hear when I talk about like this way. I'm going to
Well,
play this
yeah.
part, I'm going to play this part. I'm going to be it's almost like they're being the way Bryan was. Hey, I'm not getting any attention at this damn party. What do you all think it would be like to be killing somebody? How do you
I
think it
mean,
would
how many times do you get reaction from questions that you make or statement that you make?
right?
Those shocking statements that you don't expect anybody be saying out their mouth, much less what's coming out their mouth. And it's almost like Bryan, like you just said. It's almost
Yeah.
like Bryan walking into the room saying, "Hey, does anybody want to go with me to kill some folks?
Right.
I
Right.
know a good address, you know."
Yeah. Somebody yells out shotgun. It's like, do
Yeah,
you
I
mean you
mean,
have a shotgun to do this, or do you want the front seat? What you're saying? Right.
it just the more that we hear about this, I mean, before, we had all these questions, we had all this doubt, all this stuff, right? And the more that you hear, especially this, I've always wanted to hear something like this. If this is true, I'm not saying it's true because, it's secondhand, but if
Right.
it's true and Tony is not fabricating this is big. This is
Yeah.
huge because it shows. I mean, can you imagine, Jeff? I know that you go to Dunkin' Donuts sometimes, right? But I don't know if you ever go in. But
Thus my birthing hips.
if you ever went in and you had a barista you'd never seen before, I
Right.
don't know what they call them at Dunkin' Donuts, but barista. And all of a sudden, let's say you weren't married, you were 28 years old, and you order the same coffee every time you go in, but yet there's a new girl working, and instead of going and sitting down, you just stand by the counter and you just stare at her.
Right.
And you do it every time, not just once. You do it every time. And she got so creeped out that she had to change her shift and have people walk her out to her car at night. So isn't that something that you might
Yeah.
discount the 9 people that were at the university. You might say they're full of shit. Everybody got together to get this guy. But these stories were random, different years, different people in different locations, and the same story still comes out.
Yeah.
How could you dispute that?
Yeah. It seemed. I mean, if he was a really sweet guy and it didn't, the opposite could be true. You'd think that you would hear it from just a bunch of people that he's just
Yeah,
that doesn't it so it wouldn't fit. But these, it just feels like so many puzzle pieces fit. And I think there's two ways to have the conversation, and it's the only way in my mind that I can justify or rationalize like the other side, if you want to call them, than the
right,
way we look at this. I talk about this case wanting to know what happened, what's most probable, what most likely occurred. And then there's the other side. It's like, well, what can be proven in court? What can we get away with? What, can't prove it. That's circumstantial. That's it. It's like pull out what is it? Pull out Herbert. Let's look at the documents and look at the, you know, it's like, really, it's all about like, it's okay. You did something awful, but you got away with it because they couldn't prove it. So
right.
we're behind you. We support you. Yes, Bryan, you're our guy because you did such a good job. It's really hard to prove that you did it. So we're behind you all the way.
See, Firefly, I don't know. I don't know. You said he may have got them from the documents. I don't know. I didn't get that far down. If he did, and he did embellish it, I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not true. If um if it is true, I mean, that's still it's okay. That's all right. That's what we're doing. We're having a conversation because we really all. I just heard of this earlier, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Tony is like making me laugh so hard at what he's saying because I mean the way he was saying it was, you would see somebody that is socially awkward possibly doing this stuff. I mean, I've had people on my panel who, in the middle of a serious conversation, tell an offhand feminist joke. You know what I mean? And they just met these people 5 minutes ago. And I'm
Right.
like, what? You just told the worst possible joke you could have ever told on a panel. And you did it on a live. I mean, you didn't do it before the show started. You didn't do it after the show ended. you did it on the live and you told the most offhand joke. And we were kind of like that. We're just like, okay.
It's like
And I
that
bet,
old kids book. A long time ago, there was a kids book called, and it turned into a TV show. It's called "Kids Say the Darndest Things,"
yeah,
and it's like adults do too. I've known people that are just very, for shock value, the things that they would say. Even when I remember me and my boss went to Vegas for a broadcast TV convention, and we're in the cab from the airport on the way, and oh, what are you guys here for? Oh, we're here for the convention. The cab driver, then he says, have you all tried a midget yet? And we're like, what the heck are you talking about? Yeah, I can hook you up with the midget. And I was like, no, thanks. We're not here for that. So appreciate the offer.
yeah.
But
I mean,
it was like it definitely just stops the
right.
room.
It's so offhand. It's so offhand. You're like, what the fuck? And that's supposedly how Bryan was in bigger crowds. Supposedly, I'm saying supposedly because I don't know. We don't know the man. I've never met him. All I know of
Right.
Bryan is yes. It was yes, like he was standing to salute, right?
Yeah.
When he was. Did you ever watch that again? I mean, I went and watched that again because I wanted to make sure that I heard correctly that he did say yes to all 4 murders and the robbery or the burglary charge, right?
Yeah.
And each time he stood up, yes, sir, I did it. Yes, I did it. I want to make sure because there's a lot of things being said and done, all over YouTube that I'm like, am I living in an alternate universe? In my universe, he pleaded, he's already in prison, but in this alternate universe, he's still going to trial. And somehow
Right.
or another, I need to get back into that universe because obviously I've crossed the dimension somehow.
Well, I think that's a sign of your honesty too, when you're actually going to question yourself as to how correct you are or how correct your memory is of something you've seen. But yeah, you want to go back and check just to be sure that, like, because it's easy to see something, a bunch of people talk about it, and then it's just all talk for a long time and nobody refers back to the
Right.
like people saying, well, Ann Taylor stood there, put her hand on Bryan's shoulder and said, your honor, Bryan is innocent. But if you go
I
back to the
knew.
video, you can see her hand never touches his body in any way. And it's just amazing how, what do they call it, a Mandela effect, where the
I
group
knew you were
remembers it.
I knew you were gonna say that because I was thinking that as well as I was saying what I was saying. I was thinking, I bet Jeff just thought about that. Well, he put her hand on his shoulder and said, Your Honor, my client is innocent as she's tapping him.
Unpredictable.
I
Unpredictable.
mean, I thought that. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be the next. Yeah. Well, it's good that you are on cue like that. You make my job easy, Jeff. You make my job easy.
Well, it's like
You know,
somebody, I responded, I think either today or yesterday, to a comment. Somebody said they were just saying, oh, this is just Jeff H. He's always coming in here and commenting the same old stuff. And I couldn't help it. I commented back. I said, well, I appreciate that you're reading my comments. I appreciate that
right,
greatly. And I appreciate that you're noting you're taking note of my consistency with how
right,
I see things. I mean, that's the way my mind is working. It's like, can't figure this out, can't figure this out, can't figure it. Like with a song or a guitar, I can't figure this out, can't figure. And then all of a sudden, it's an A minor chord. Of course, it's A
right,
minor. Now talk about it. A minor. Hey Jeff, what's that chord? A minor. The gears turning and the calculating, and is this possible? Is this because nobody wants to sit there and I spent 10 hours figuring something out and I have it wrong. And
right,
I'm going to tell
right,
everybody that, what it is. I know it's wrong, but it sells. This story sells. It's a B minor, dude. It's a B minor. And you set somebody off on course to, yeah, Jeff told me it's a B minor. So I'm going to get up on stage. I'm going to play it. The moment he hits that B minor, the whole crowd looks at him like, what an idiot, man.
right.
I believed
I
what he
mean, I've
told
done
me.
that. I've done that going back on some of my videos, and I've gotten up here and apologized when I make when I when
Well,
I make it.
you were quick with that box of screws, though. You were quick.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I
corrected
mean,
yourself.
I thought that was a box of bullets. I was like, whoa, there's a box of bullets right there. But then I was like, no, I was half asleep that morning. I thought I gotta look that again because that no, I got some bullets over here and it kind of resembled it, but no, it's a box of screws. So
Right.
no, let me
Yeah, it
go
did.
ahead.
It did look like a box of ammunition. So
Yeah,
I can understand that.
but
I mean, that's the thing. You know,
his behavior, if it is relevant, if this is true, this just cements just a little more about this individual, about his predatory nature. You know, we've always heard he was a predator. You know, he had that predatory, not really, nobody wanted to say stalking, okay? So we said surveying. Um, but he obviously has that hunter's mentality of people. And
yeah,
what's the best way to get information on somebody? You sit there and awkwardly ask them, "Hey, what's your name? What's your sign? How old are you? Where do you live? What car do you drive? Do you get good gas mileage?" I mean, there's a difference in an 80-year-old man asking you that and a 28-year-old man. Wouldn't you
right.
say, Jeff?
Yeah, well, even in the case with older people, like there's a way of going about it that could leave you feeling like this old guy's creepy. And then there's other ways where it's like, oh, this is a grandpa that's just being, friendly and nice. You have to trust your senses when you're talking to somebody and saying, oh, this feels like a predator. Like I was in the band plays this silly song that maybe many of you know called Pink Pony Club. I can't believe we're even playing that song. It's so silly, but it's fun to play, and it is got a catchy. It's a catchy tune. So we play
Okay.
that in the band. I'm walking in Walmart, and I see this grandma with the little kid in the shopping cart. Sitting in this shopping cart. The little girl is singing the song, and I went up to him and I said, "Is she singing Pink Pony Club?" And the grandma said, "Yeah, I'm not sure what song that is." I said, "I just was wondering." I said, "My band plays that." So I said, "That's very. I can't wait to tell them." And then I walked away. I walked away because it didn't want to stay any longer than that would have been creepy. Like, hey, and as much as I would have loved to like been able to share with the band, it's like, hey, look at this video I shot of this grandma, this little girl singing the song we play, right? That would have been crossing the line of creepiness
Yes,
and
yes.
just common sense. You just don't do that. You say something quick, you leave it open to them. And if you get any sense from them, like they want to continue a conversation about it, okay, now that's a different thing. But I didn't get any sense of that. I just walked off and went to the next aisle. Nothing creepy, nothing weird, but it's so easy to just, if you don't have that sense of what you're saying is crossing the line of creepiness. And I don't think Bryan, it seems to me like he was the type of guy that just didn't have that common sense.
But
Or
do
he
you
did
did
and he was
you
doing it intentionally and he knew.
did you ever watch that interview with Ashley Banfield and the lady that is a coworker that knew Brian? Have you seen that interview?
I think I did. What did they discuss? That'll probably bring back some.
Well, the girl was saying that she went to school with Brian. She didn't mention Willie, but she went to school with Brian, and he was a couple years younger. He graduated with her sister or brother. I think it was her sister. But she said that she noticed that he was quiet and shy. She said the Brian that she remembers doesn't equal the Brian that people are talking about today.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So that tells you, like, okay, I mean, there's some people that have made me uncomfortable being with them because you could be at a restaurant, you could be at a bar with them, and they're actively flirting, but their flirt is way off. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bro, you're like 50 something years old. She's obviously 21, 22 years old. I mean, you're trying to throw that 1986 line at her and you're giggling, she's giggling, and she's going, "What the?" Because you can see it on her face, like, "Oh, dear God, another table like this."
Right.
And I can imagine that's how people looked at Brian. if these stories are true. You know, we did hear about the Pennsylvania um, brewery that he used to go and drink beer at, right? You remember that?
Oh,
Where
where he
they,
was like he was in the system where they would
yeah.
flag in the computer at the bar. He's like,
Okay, so
this guy.
what we heard today and what we heard back then, people were saying, "Nah, that wasn't true. That's been debunked." So this looks like a pattern to me.
Right.
If people are actively singling you out and saying you have totally creeped me out to the point that I don't want to wait on you, I got to have my manager go talk to you. In this case, the barista changed her shift. She would go hide in the back when he came in. I mean, that's
Right.
pretty extensive. I mean, you know, if you're creeped out by somebody, you're going to fake it. That's your job. Okay, I'm going to be nice, but I don't have to talk to them more than I have to. You know, this is my job. For her
Right. This
to
whole
act,
case teaches us that if you're uncomfortable with somebody in your house, you go in the bathroom and you pretend like you're throwing up. I
oh,
mean,
there you go. There you
geez.
go. There you go. I mean,
Wow. That's
but you get what
extreme.
I'm saying. But you get what I'm saying. It's like if you have to get away from somebody that hardcore, what are they doing with their mannerisms or with their actions
Yeah.
that gives you that kind of, I got to get out of here? Not everybody's spidey sense is off kilter, no matter what people want to say.
Right.
And he was 28 at this point, so he's a older man. You know, 28's not old, but if these girls were 21, 22, 23, 24, any variation there,
Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same vibe.
No.
I mean, I'd be
No.
curious to know how much older or younger the dancer was than him. If she was older and he creeped her out, then that tells you a lot too.
And that's the thing too. I mean, I think I've seen you mention from time to time, and there's the damage that I think pornography does to men, and just stuff in this vein. Strippers, these. There's no wonder that like these strippers, when they're going to their car, they have some big dude like walking them to their car, because it's pretty obvious that you're going to get guys in there kind of riled up, that they might do something in the parking lot, or they might
Of course.
follow you. It's kind of obvious. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that because Bryan went and saw a stripper, or that yes, he's the one, but
Right.
that behavior, the behavior with a stripper. I mean, there's a I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I had never been to places like that. I think I've even shared that I was in one once where the girl was dancing to the song, God is watching us from a distance. You know that old
Oh
song?
Jesus.
And I
Oh
remember thinking, what?
Jesus.
Who picked that song? But when you talk to them like a normal person, I would think would be, you realize this is a person. They're doing a job. They're It's a person. It's a person who has to pay bills. But
They're
then
filling
you
a
get these,
role.
yeah, you get these creepers that are like, that they feel that, hey, I think I have a shot with this one. She's being real nice to me. It's that
So you're
falseness.
saying that there's a
Yeah,
chance.
exactly. Exactly. You see Jim Carrey saying that line just right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's
I
perfect.
wasn't a stripper and you didn't just talk about killing somebody, you might have a chance.
You might have a chance. Yeah, that
So
killer
you're
comment,
saying,
you just kind of ruined it there.
yeah, so you're saying that there's a chance. I mean, it's just interesting combo. It really is. I mean, and if it is true, that's motive. That is motive.
Well, and
My
even
electric
though Bill
my
Thompson got up
electric
and said there
company.
was
Yeah.
no, didn't Bill Thompson say there was no evidence of like sexual you know whatever with
Yeah.
regards to this, but it still makes you wonder. I mean, it's unfortunate that is the type of thing with certain guys, that just awful things can happen. Look at Chris Watts, right? Didn't he had another woman. He didn't want his wife and kids anymore.
Right.
He's got a new woman. So this sexual thing and this sexual desire and attract. I mean, go to the Bible. Like, what is it? King David had Bathsheba's husband sent to the front of the lines in the battle so that he'd get killed, so he could be with David's wife. No, it wasn't David. Well, David, I don't know who, I can't remember the guy's name, whose wife it was, with Bathsheba. I mean, it's biblical. It goes all the way back to biblical times. The awful things people do because of. Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
So, it's just interesting, and that is a good point that you're making, that, we really don't know the severity of some.
Oh, I can't hear you. Did I lose you?
Okay, am I here? Right.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you now.
Okay, all right. This internet's like crappy for some reason lately. So that goes back to the chameleon versus the actor for me. Bryan felt like he fit in places like that. Now with the chameleon, because that's how he felt about himself. But he was still the professor asking questions to be one step ahead of he was interviewing. I mean, there's a difference between an interview and wanting to get to know somebody. Like, hey, what's your name? I'm so and so. You don't ask a stripper her name. She's not ever going to tell you unless you've been a regular for a while. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, to straight out just come out and say, I want to kill somebody. Well, let me get off of you, bro. Let me quit dancing for you because I'm not the one.
Be really interesting to know when he first got interested in criminology, because it's almost like he found an area of study where his creepy comments could be seen as like, okay, that's normal in a sense. It's almost like somebody who really wants to go burn down a building. Like the guy in that movie, Office Space. Where you mumble, he's like, I could burn down the building. That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's
But then he
my
goes and
favorite.
he studies fire investigation, and then now all his creepy comments sound like he's just looking into being the best he can at fighting fires. But all along in his mind, it's like, no, he wants to set the biggest one that he possibly can.
I mean, the strip club thing interests me a little bit if that's true, because that would give him the chance to be close up to a female without having to be rejected. Because very seldom, if you got some dollars, you're not going to get rejected in there,
Right.
So that probably gave him self esteem a little bit. See, I can
Although
pick
it
up.
can backfire though on you. It's almost like if you're starving and it's like, hey, I got some good lasagna here. I'm going to hold it in front of you. No, you can't eat it. You can't eat it. No, but you smell it, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel the heat come off of it, but that's about it. That's all you get. Yeah,
Well,
that
I
can.
mean, he could keep going back. That's what's interesting, is I want to know if he had a pattern of going there, or if he had a pattern of going to a lot of them. Because the incel theory is out the window with these new revelations. I mean, we know that obviously he was on Tinder. He was swiping left and right, got a couple of hits, but instead of closing the deal, he had to get creepy right off the bat. Like, come on, bro. So, do you like long drives in the night by we can stargaze in the middle of nowhere? Nobody will see us. By the way, I got a shovel in the back, and some goggles, and a boot.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a real shame he didn't have a good friend that could talk sense into him, because even
how do you know that he didn't, though, Jeff?
well, I wish that friend would come forward. and say, you know, I tried, but no matter what I did. I mean, I had a friend like that was just, you know, it was hard to talk sense into him. He was just really just a wild thinking guy. And then when he got drinking, oh, forget it. That there was you just didn't want to be nearby.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, how do we know that a lot of people, because he did have a plan to change his behavior by his professors and stuff. So there was professional people saying, hey, bro, you're just a little out there. You need to change. Or we're going to take your money. We're going to take your position. We're going to take everything from you. And
Yeah.
that wasn't enough to get him to do anything different. And you saw in those pictures, he just laid that out like it wasn't a big deal. Like, oh, whatever. I don't care what you say, type stuff.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's
those
something you don't, if you want somebody to possibly, get violent or have a really strong reaction, you start messing with their money, or you start messing with their position, or their
right.
possible future goals that they've got set for themselves. That's, no telling what a person is going to do. And it doesn't sound like, I mean, most people might say like, wow, well, what is it that Nina is always saying, where it's like, you
There
check
you go.
everything, in the end, you find out, I'm the problem. It's me,
Yeah,
and it doesn't.
ego depletion that she's always talking about. That I
Yeah.
just watched a 1 hour photo with Robin Williams. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah, that's creepy.
Well, he got fired, and that set off everything.
I always think of
He,
that movie when I think of Delphi, Richard Allen, because Richard Allen
yeah.
worked. Didn't he do the photos in the CVS for the family for free? And
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
yeah, it makes me think of that movie every time I heard about that, because I think
Wow.
he was in the kind of in the pharmacy, but I don't know. Maybe he had some connection. Maybe he also had worked as with where they do the photo developing and printing. But it was my understanding that he printed out the photos for the family and didn't charge them. Kind of like we understand what happened. Sorry for your
Yeah.
loss, that kind of a thing. Yeah,
Well,
very
Kel
creepy.
says, yeah, her too. She thinks of that every time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
Robin.
mean, he got fired. Robin Williams got fired, and that lost everything for him. Like he went on a mission to not only get back at the people that he was trying to protect, but you've seen the movie.
Yeah,
What happens? I don't want to ruin it for people. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. But
uh,
all it takes is something to just spark that dynamite.
yeah,
And then you got a ticking time bomb, and once it started, it's hard to recoil. I mean, let's say if he would have that night because he had a bad history of driving. How come that night a cop couldn't have pulled him over? You know what I mean? That could have been the night that I wish some police officer, he would have swerved or he would have been speeding out of that neighborhood.
right.
Those cops that were right there saw him driving off and chased him down and got him. You know what I mean? Then we
Yeah,
would never be at this position where we're at right now.
yeah. I'd give anything to have a time machine to go back. And how would a cop feel if we get the intel of where he's going to be? He's going to go through an intersection, and a cop is sitting there, and just like out of Back to the Future, you just tap him on the shoulder. It's like, hey, keep an eye out for a white Elantra about 5 minutes from now.
Yeah,
Go check him out.
yeah. I mean, because I was talking in Discord the other night about that, like all the semblances of where it could have potentially went different. The
Yeah,
drunk driver, the co-pocket thing, and the Banfield cops. There was like cops or potential for him to be caught at any time, and none of that.
yeah,
I wanted to tell you earlier. I have no faith in Bill Thompson. I did until he started talking after the fact. At this
yeah.
point, I don't have any faith in him. Like he needs to go sit down somewhere already.
Do you think there was part of him that was, without saying it, was admitting that it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to go into this trial, and an alternative. It's almost like when, like the morning where you realize this is the day you got to get up in class and give your oral book report. You're like, oh man, I'll do anything else. It's like, somebody needs to go clean out all the toilets that have overflowed. I'll do it. I'd rather do that.
But at the same time, think about this, Jeff. Look, we gave him so much props as a community. Those of us that were, with the prosecution and stuff like that, we gave him the benefit of the doubt that he was actually going to stick to what he was building toward the trial. He said, there's not going to be a plea, blah blah blah. We believed it, and then he does the plea. Then, the defense asked for it. He said, okay, blah blah blah. He didn't ask for Bryan to, disclose anything. And then he gets out here and says all this contradictory stuff to what he said all along. You know what I mean? Like, there was no evidence whatsoever that put Bryan with these people. Like, okay, well, what was the sheath? That wasn't evidence. The white Elantra on the camera wasn't evidence.
Right. Although I think he was specifically talking about maybe the digital phone evidence or the pinging. I always interpreted what he was saying as like, we knew he was in the vicinity, but we can't prove. I don't know why he had to say that, unless there's part of him that was trying to say, look, I can't come out here and say to Bryan's face as a prosecutor, I can't say, we got you, MFer, we got you. But
why not?
What can I do?
I mean, why not? When he's reading that list, that little bit of, well, this is what we had, and he's reading it, it's almost like, I don't even know what's on this paper. He's reading it as if he's reading it for the first time. You get what I'm saying?
But is there part of him that's saying that in other words, to say, Bryan, we got your ass, and we didn't even have the whole picture. Almost like to say,
well, he could have saved the family. He could have saved the family a whole bunch of grief by saying, you know what, even though he's playing, this is what we really had, and we would have got him regardless. Because he didn't even make it seem like, he actually believed in his team enough to go through with the conviction of this man. Like, he was reading it like, well, this is what we kind of got. We really don't know if he was even in the area at this point, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like, okay, we didn't have nothing, kind of like what you just said. We didn't have nothing on you, and we bluffed you, and you chose the plea deal.
Right.
And that's how people are looking at it. They're looking at it that way, Jeff. It's like,
But do you think there's also part, just in support of Bill Thompson, if he listened to YouTube's Crime Sleuths just, a couple nights, and he happened to end up not on your channel, but on those other channels, and if he thought for a second, all it would take is one of these pro burgers on the jury that has believed all the pretty pictures that Ann Taylor painted of doubt, that he knew that even though he knew they've got the right guy. I mean, and that he knows other stuff that we don't even know about. It's just stuff that is obvious. Because it comes down to a point. It's like, to Bill Thompson, I'm sure it's obvious it's him. Now we just have to prove it. And that's difficult. But knowing that it's him and it's obviously him, that's not so difficult. That you can just, with everything, you put all the pieces together. And like I say, it's the mountain, the summation of all the things that make him guilty. I know pro burgers like to say, well, let's just talk about one thing. Let's just talk about just the Elantra. Let's just talk about the...
Look, Jeff, how about, after the gag order's lifted, the dude's obviously on his way to prison. That's the time when you say, look, this is how we had the situation going. Had there been a trial, this would have been our strategy.
Well, maybe there's still time. Isn't there like 4 days left that he can still appeal or something? 2 days. 2 days. You think he's going to do anything at all?
No, it's not going to be at the witching hour. It's not going to be 12:01. 12:01 tomorrow night, and he's going to, I want an appeal. No. It takes time. You just can't.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, but
believe
what I'm suggesting is that maybe there's still time for Bill Thompson after that 2 days passes, for him to know, okay, there is no turning back. Now I can make some comments that I would wanted to say, but have been reluctant to say.
I don't think. I mean, and why haven't we heard from Ann?
Yeah,
How
she
come
hasn't said
Ann
a
hadn't
peep.
said anything?
She's standing
Nobody
silent.
asked that. Nobody asked that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, her and Cy Ray, they their microphones are both broken at the same time.
It's like the trial ended, or not the trial, but the sentencing ended. He went off to prison, and she went on to the next guy. Okay, time to hopefully not plea him out.
Right.
Because she's on that other murder case, right? That death penalty case.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but yeah, I know she had taken another case. What do you
Yeah,
think she'd
but
buy with the money from Bryan? Like, you think she's Mercedes, or you think she's Tesla? What'd she buy with that?
most people, older people, buy Volvos. So
Volvo. Yeah.
I know a lot of lawyers that drive Volvos. Wouldn't that be some shit if she drives a Range Rover, huh? I don't think she's under the gag order. None of them are Texas anymore. Why isn't she coming out and talking and saying, that's one thing you kept saying, and I kept remembering it, Jeff. You said, how do you think people are going to feel after all this is said and done, that Anne knew all along that she was defending somebody who was guilty,
Yeah.
and she still did it? That's her job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do it.
Still, people were saying, well, she defended him, and she believes in him, and all this, and Anne's going to do this and that. She didn't do any of it, and she did know everything because she had the discovery, just like the prosecution.
Yeah. I don't know how a person does a job like that. I mean, like, well, the Jodi Arias is a, attorney. There's that quote that I've pasted many times. That they don't always believe the things they're saying, but they've got to do the job for their client.
Right,
And
right.
I can't imagine. I mean, the thing is like either you say, I know this guy's guilty, I'm not doing this job. But then you think to yourself, if I don't do it, maybe there's part of you that thinks if I don't do it, they're going to get somebody else that does it, and they're going to do it so well that this guy gets free. And maybe
It
there's a
seems,
small part of you that's like, maybe, because
I
don't
mean,
you think that, I don't know,
looking
that's,
back on all this, Jeff, if we're really looking at it objectively here, she did everything she was supposed to do for Koberger.
yeah.
She fought words, she fought evidence, she fought this and that and the other.
And
You
he
don't
answered
think
that question, right, in the plea. So, he was happy with
Yeah,
his defense
yeah,
attorney.
yeah. He answered all of it. Were you under any kind of duress? Did YouTube have any decision on your decision to plea? No, sir. YouTube
But
did not.
is there a part of Van Taylor that says, oh, geez, we got a judge could easily set this guy free. He's so different than other judges that are out there. Maybe we should push to go to Boise, get a
I
tougher
don't. I mean,
judge.
that's a good thought if you're thinking, along the realms of her having an emotional connection. But just doing her job, I'm sure Bryan was pushing for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's get it out of here. That way, we go to a bigger city. Possibly
Yeah,
we'll
you're
have a
probably right.
better chance.
I don't want to question her ethics and anything. I mean, I like you said, she did a stellar job for him,
Yeah.
as she should, and even if she did realize that he's guilty, you know, it's the system's job to figure that all out. She's there to do her job, and does make me wonder when I think about when they're pulling out the case law from the 1800s, was that Bryan's idea, or was that her idea, or was that Jay Logsdon's idea? It just seems
I
kind of
don't
like it
know.
reminded me of
I don't
Back to
know.
the Future. It's like, let's get Doc Brown to go check the law books back then and see if we can find something. Come back in the DeLorean.
I mean, think about this. It's like lost my train of thought. But regarding Anne, think about her having to defend all these people, right? Think of the person who had to defend. Well, there wasn't a lawyer that defended Lori Vallow, but can you imagine defending her? She would be trying to tell you how to run her defense.
Yeah.
And what if we don't know if Bryan was secretly telling her, no, that's not what I want, because he has rights. She has to go the direction that he wants to go. She is representing him. She
Right.
is not the one governing the defense. She could suggest, hey, that might not be a good idea, blah, blah, blah. But if you think that you're the smartest person in the room, even smarter than a court appointed attorney, it makes sense to me that he would have been trying to run the show a lot more than they
Right.
probably
And then when
let.
you look at the court documents, it doesn't say Ann Taylor brings this argument. It's like Bryan Kohberger argues this, or it's him. He's being represented, yes, but these it's all about him. I mean, I'm sure all he had to do, if he didn't even understand that in the beginning, is to see a couple of those documents and saying, "Oh, this has my name on it. This is my show."
Right,
So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this way.
right, right.
I
I
jokingly
mean,
wonder, though, if they misheard him when he said he looks forward to being exonerated, and he actually said incarcerated. Is there a chance? You're saying there's a chance that maybe they misheard that?
hearing this coffee story makes me wonder, hey, I get let go. I know this cute girl that works at a coffee place in Pullman. We could go get some coffee. You
Uh,
didn't catch that, did you?
with the that's what
He's
Tony said.
he
That's coming from a
supposedly
barista.
he was supposedly talking to one of the officers about going and getting coffee, and I was
And
referencing it to,
I see.
hey, I know this coffee place that we can go and get coffee. There's this person that she's really nice. And
Right. She's nice. She's easily creeped out. So watch what you say. Let me do the talking. Yeah, I
yeah,
can see that. I can see that. I'm sorry. I'm slow on that.
I mean, have you
Put
ever?
together.
We all have different types of friends, because sometimes we have friends that are bonded to us by other friends, but we have all known somebody that, just like my example that I was giving a while ago, we go out to eat or we go to a bar, and our waitress is cute. She's she's friendly, she's bubbly, this and that and the other. She
She's
might
bubbly.
even she might even say, "Okay, dear, okay, sweetie, whatever." And all of a sudden, this person perks up, and they think, "I found the one."
Yeah.
And from
Met,
then
I
on,
met my
all you hear
soulmate.
about, yes, from then on, all you hear is how wonderful this waitress is. Next thing you know, he gets home, he's calling to work where she works, asking to speak to her, trying to get her number, doing all this weird stuff. Is that Nanook?
Nanook? No. I'm just sitting in a parking lot. That's a car with
Oh,
a loud muffler.
I was like, is Nanook snoring? No,
But
but you get what I'm saying.
well,
Those
yeah, I
people
know.
that
I know a
get
situation
attached
at a
really, really quickly.
yeah. I remember a situation at a wedding where a friend started talking to a friend of the groom, kind of met and started talking to a friend of the bride, and everybody's thinking like, this is not a match. This is that dude's a little on the weird side, but she's into him, I think, and and next thing you know, I mean, it didn't last, but it's just that I guess that's a little bit different situation because they both kind of were open to the idea, so it wasn't like one is just completely creeped out from
Right.
the start, but I guess everybody was kind of leaning towards she ought to be creeped out. Is she not getting the? She's not getting the signs of. It's like he's putting on a good show, acting. Fooled her. It's like, should we warn her? Should we? Should we not?
Well, everything was probably good. He didn't mention a K-bar killing or any of that. So,
Right. Yeah, he chose his
yeah.
words more carefully that day, right?
I mean, Bryan obviously figured out that the killing and K-bar line was not going to work because we heard that he changed his lines to, I'm from Pennsylvania. I like to hike. I like to do this, that, and the other. Would you like to hike with me sometime? So, he switched up his verbiage. He went from "Would you like to be killed by me in a K bar?" or to "Hey, would
Right.
you like to go hiking with me sometime?" The girl he met at the pool party supposedly was in a hiking club, and that's how he chose to strike up a conversation. Here's
Right.
another weird one, Jeff, and I'm not trying to overpower you right here,
Uh-huh.
but think about what we heard. There was two married women in bikinis, and he's sitting there staring at them and having uncomfortable conversations with them. They feel so uncomfortable. One of the women goes to her husband and says, "Hey, you need to talk to this dude. We're feeling a little creeped out. We're just trying to get, a
Right.
suntan or
Security.
whatever."
Security.
He goes over there and talks to Bryan. His wife and her friend moved to another part of the pool, supposedly. And what does Bryan do? Blows the dude off and goes right over there where they went. What do you
That's
get
a,
from that?
yeah, that I mean, that's a scary thing. It sounds like he had a very high confidence. I have a feeling. Do you think the confidence came from, I know, when you have poor self body image, that can just crush you. You don't feel like you can do anything. You're just worthless. But when you can turn that around and you feel like you have positive self body worth, because I've always said, I think his two things was he was creepy and fat, right, when he's younger, and then he did something about the fat, right? That's it. You leave it at that. The creepy remains, and but the confidence, you got a confident creeper, man, and it's no telling what a person can do. I mean, isn't there stories of where he would come up and kind of put people in a chokehold jokingly, and but it sounded like to that person it was not quite just a joke. It was
Yeah.
basically the bully turning the tables, and now he's the bully, and
Well, there was a story of one people that he worked with, or one of the women that he would talk to, that she would want to get out of her office, and he'd cornered her, like stood in between the doorway and the desk to try to continue conversation. And how awkward would it be that your professor, who's overseeing you, wants to get away with you, but get away from you, and you follow him out with random conversation that he's not wanting to have, and his wife scoots over all the way to the other part of her chair or seat. When
yeah.
her husband gets in the door, gets in the car.
Do you think
I
it's
mean,
also too with is it the kind of thing too where the people at the college, when you to bring accusations against somebody, at the school is it can be pretty serious and can be pretty messy. And like, sometimes see something, say something is an easy thing. I'm out in public, I see somebody drop a bag near in a suspicious place, no
right?
problem. But when it's in the workplace, I remember we had a guy that was being fired. I overheard this yelling, this fight with him and the boss, and I remember hearing the boss say, "Let go of my hair," because the guy had a toupee. He was an older guy, and I think the guy was kind of making fun of his lack of hair and was pulling on his toupee. So I had to kind of testify to that, and it was a little uncomfortable because you think to yourself, you don't know how this is going to go. What if they find out and they side with the boss? Now I've got to work with this guy that I just testified against and said, "Yeah, I heard him say to you, let go of his hair, and I heard the things you all yelled about." Now, luckily, he got fired, and it went that way. But even after being fired, he ended up on the news, for something else. I mean, this guy was bad news. I think he was looking to find that big lawsuit somehow that he could kind of cause to happen, but then look like the
Yeah.
innocent one in the end and then take the big payout. because there was something else, and there were police on his front yard, and he was being interviewed on his front yard for something else, and it's like, man, this guy. And he was trying to get a janitor in trouble, saying that the janitor would come in and move stuff on his desk, and this was this was like just a kind of a slow guy that was a janitor, and it's like, man, people are just so complicated and just interesting to this discussion is just, I miss doing this with you, 12. This is awesome. I was actually just thinking about this earlier today. It's like, man, it's been a long time since we've just had a chat like
Yeah,
this.
I mean, this is how the channel started. It was the type of discussion, you know. But also, Jeff, it's like Bryan just seems to be that person, or was that person, that there was something in his brain that caused him not to be able, like what Kel said, is read the room. There's some people who can't read the room. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like going into church and you start coming in there and showing porn on your phone or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
read the room, read the room. Ah, they don't care, or, you tell the person before you get in there, hey, these people are Christians. They don't cuss. They don't do any of this, blah, blah, blah. They don't drink. So you're not going to drink tonight, blah, blah, blah. First thing out of their damn mouth is a cuss word.
Yeah,
And you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just like,
You think? I mean, is this the kind of thing that heroin use can damage your mind to take you to this place, or
I
is this
wish
just
I wish I knew the answer to that. I have not done enough research on heroin because it has not been that popular. It's only been to one demographic. So it's kind of hit and miss, you know what I mean? But
Firefly? You just noticed that? I
just
just saw
like
a Firefly today.
everything else, anytime you use any kind of substance in your body that you prolong it, that's not supposed to be there, it changes the way you feel, the way you act, the way you think, you know.
Right.
So
I think too, and it's because I hear sometimes people say, people as friends of his on YouTube, of course, talking about how he was then, but it doesn't take that many years for a person to become different than they were back in high school, and um, the stuff that they end up getting involved in. I went to elementary school with the guy that, I mean, he grew up in a nice home, mom and dad, everything was great. I hadn't talked to him in many years. Now I'm outside of high school, and I thought about him and called him up, and he proceeded to tell me he was part of this group that vandalizes businesses and goes around spray painting stuff, and it was cool, and it's like, who the heck are you? I don't even recognize you anymore. And I was like, okay, man, nice talking to you. And that was that. And then many, many years later, now he's like got a government job, and it seems normal. And so people can go through huge changes. They're no telling. I think that's why yearbooks in high school say most likely to do this, most likely to do that, because it's a guess, and you're guessing based on how they are then, and you're hoping this is, although imagine you get the couple that's like most likely to kill many people. It's possible.
most likely to be remembered. And
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say a while ago is the fact that all these women that came forward and told these stories, each one of them remembered him when he got arrested. It
yeah,
wasn't that, well, could that have been a dude? No.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you still there? Can you hear me still? 12. Did
I'm
you hear
here.
internet?
I'm
Okay.
here. Yeah, the internet's bugging,
Could be
man.
me. I'm out here in the parking lot, so
Hey, did you hear what I said? Like, all these women weren't mistaken about this could be the dude. No, if these stories are true, they all said, yes, I remember him from way back then, years earlier. So,
yeah,
how many people are you gonna discredit to make this person not be who he appears to be? You
right.
know, it's one thing for, three people to say, well, yeah, I remember Brian. He was creepy. He was a good guy. I knew his parents and blah, blah, blah. But then when you start hearing women and professors and people that knew him personally on a daily basis make these statements about who he was, and you can't believe that whatsoever, what is not computing up there? When
Yeah,
you instantly go to they're lying, they're spreading rumors about him, everybody was creeped out, blah blah. Just because you're creepy doesn't make you a killer. Well, obviously it did because the man admitted to it,
well, maybe
and that
there's some, there's people that root for the underdog, and there's people that put two and two together and say it's obviously four. And maybe there are people that just it's something in their nature that's like, you know what, I want to, like in a debate, in a debate class. Sometimes you get to choose which side of the debate you're going to argue
yeah,
for. And there are those times where it's like, okay, Jeff, you are going to argue that the Earth is flat. It's like, crap. I don't believe it, but I gotta debate that side. That's the side that
right.
they've assigned me. So
But even in a debate, have you ever been in a debate where people start cussing and calling each other names? And you know,
right,
I mean, taking personal pot shots at you and everything else, to get their little point. Debates are usually like you give your best shot at it. The other side hears it. They got a
right, right.
counter argument, and you know,
I almost picture like that person that resorts to that, like name calling and cussing, is like they've got a key on their keyboard. It's labeled, when you're losing the argument, press this button to turn up the cursing and the name calling and stuff. And like they switch their keyboard into, now I'm into, I'm keyboard warrior going on the attack. And I
yeah,
think there's
it
even an
did.
expression like, once you start to attack, you're showing the other side that you're losing the argument, that you realize you're losing the argument.
Like I got mods in the chat right now, right? And if I did this, went off camera, that's the cue. That's the red phone ringing in the chat. Okay, everybody be ready.
Oh,
The chat.
for somebody in the
Yeah,
chat, you mean?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's like, okay, this is my cue. Y'all see that? When I go off camera, that means that y'all need to block people or call people names or whatever. I mean, honestly, I don't even get any of that, Jeff. You and I started this a long time ago, talking and having our conversations. Even when we had people that would come into the chat. Remember that one guy one night? It'd been so long ago. I don't know if you do or not, but he instantly came in. I think he was from Japan or something. He had broken English, and
Uh-huh.
all I could remember him saying was "Gilter." None of what he said made sense. But at
Uh-huh.
the end of the sentence, it said "Gilter." And I was like, remember me asking you, Jeff, what the hell does that mean? Gilter.
Right, right.
For the longest time, I had no clue what the hell that damn word meant.
It is a
And
weird label if you think about it, because a guilter seems like somebody that would make another person feel guilty about something. But
yeah,
that's not the way it is. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
at the beginning, I don't know where he was from. It was late at night, so it could have been anywhere in the world. Jeff and I were having a conversation as we did in the early days about the Elantra or something. And this dude comes in and he spoke very little English. His English was broken, and he said, Gilter. I looked at Jeff and I was like, did he just call me a name or is that his name? Like,
Well, it shows you the level of passion that people can have for this subject. I don't. Can you imagine going into some room where you don't have a very good command of the language they're speaking in there, but you're so passionate about it, you're going to do your best, and even if the only thing they catch of what you're saying is the word guilter.
that I said, I'm not going to block you, but why are you calling me names? I'm not even talking about guilt or innocence. We're talking about a damn car. No, it's not that person. That person came later on, but I don't know where this guy was from. Like I said, I think he was Indian or something, some kind of country, and that's all I remember. Blah 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 blah
I
blah.
have vague recollection of that.
Guilter. And I was laughing. I was like, Jeff, he just called me a guilter. What the hell is a guilter? I don't think the word pro burger had been invented yet. I don't think I didn't remember.
It's funny because if I understand right, the word guilter is a derogatory term, used at somebody that you think is considering somebody guilty that isn't, and that's a terrible thing to do. It's against our Constitution. You shouldn't do it. You're just awful for considering anybody guilty. Unless they're Dylan, Bethany, Steve G, the list goes on and on, right? Then it's okay. That Constitution doesn't apply to them anymore. Now we step outside of there. I think they did it. I think they cleaned up. I don't I love the recent stuff. Is like, we don't understand much about Amido Black, but look at all that stuff on the sink. We're gonna guess at what that all means, and our guesses. Yep, the guesses end up being just the same scenario and narrative that you always hear on this channel. We're back. We haven't changed. We're still the same. It's like, oh my gosh.
Everybody calls it Amino Black.
Right.
And it wasn't until that video that you showed that night where it said Amido Black.
Same here. I thought
it was like, oh, it was Amino Black? It's Amido.
Like amino acids, but it's Amido Black.
Yeah, so now when I hear people call it Amino Black, and they say other words that are kind of funny, it's like, okay, it's Amido. And Jeff showed a video where you spray the stuff on. Didn't she wipe it off after she sprayed the water or whatever, and that left the...
I think if I remember right, it goes on. This is where it gets confusing for some people on the other side, that it goes on light blue. And there was somebody that was really pushing this hard with the incorrect information, likes meatballs. I'll just leave it at that. And pushing really hard. I think in the end, afterwards, after watching a video, admitted they were incorrect, but not very strongly, so that the other stuff they initially said can get traction and be heard by a lot of people, so that it could make it look more awful than it is. But yeah, that it goes on light blue. It interacts with any proteins or blood on the surface, and then they use a clear liquid to wash the remnant away, and the dark black or dark blue stuff that remains, that's where the proteins are located. So when you look at that kitchen sink, I'm not even going to make any comments on what that all means, because I'm not an expert in it. And I would defer to somebody who can say, this is what that means. Because the thing is like, there are proteins, I imagine, in other things other than just blood. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's blood. But man, they ran with it. Look at how messy that sink is. They obviously cleaned the blood up here and thought they did a good job, but they didn't.
Well, they were so good at cleaning up, they left one latent shoe print that they couldn't see, which he wasn't even wearing Vans. If you looked at the shoe prints leading out the back, it was obviously a boot print of some sort. So that dispels that rumor that BK was wearing Vans. Obviously, it was either Dylan's vans or some random person's vans. It was not the killer's.
Right.
So, and it was not a one-legged killer like I always assumed. I was wrong. I was wrong there too. Remember, I used to say it was a one-legged killer because it was only one latent shoe print.
Yeah, it
So,
was Brian's twin brother, Hoppy. We all called him Hoppy.
right. I mean,
Had the same
but
bushy eyebrows and everything, but he hopped, around.
but seriously, the van. It If you really go back and look at the stuff that we've been given, we've been given a lot of the puzzle pieces.
Yeah,
Remember, you referenced it to it being a puzzle, and we wanted the puzzle pieces. You said you
right,
wanted the 11-12 camera shoe. Oh, I just read his statement. The 11-12 video stuff, they showed it. You're able to interpret it. You're not looking at it as, oh, has this been messed with? Did they superimpose the car? Why is the light so bright? Blah blah blah. Did you look at it like that, or were you looking at it as, man, that sure does look like a white Elantra to me?
right. Yeah, no, when I looked at that, well, when I did that first overlay with the still picture of a 2015 Elantra, and I overlaid it on the 4:05 a.m. Linda Lane footage. I
Yeah.
think that was if I remember right, that was a suggestion to do that by Detective John. And so he's like, Jeff, you can do it. I know you can do it. I think I remember it too, because he was like, Jeff, you could do that in 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm on it. I'm on it, and I'm going to try it. But I set out to just be ready that it might be an Elantra or it might not be. But we were trying it just to see. And as I lined up that shape, it's like, damn, the shape of the side window is like just about exactly the same as a 2015 Elantra. And ever
But
since then,
the
it's like,
but
okay,
the
that's
diff,
it.
but the difference in that, Jeff, is if we found out that it wasn't an Elantra, okay, you wouldn't change the color of the vehicle just because you were wrong, would you?
Right, exactly.
Like,
It's just
you
like what you were just saying with the puzzle pieces. If the piece doesn't fit, I'm not pulling out a pair of scissors and chopping off a little bit of it to make it fit. No, I'm going to
right,
say it's like,
right.
that's not an Elantra. We thought it might be, but it's not.
It's like
What is it?
it's like every piece that more than likely fit the puzzle, it either got a change of color, people had bad eyesight, it was somebody else, there was 20 other potential people, there was people parachuting into the balcony, there was people crawling through the tunnel, dealing drugs. Kaylee was getting shot with a beanbag gun by the cartel. I mean, there's for everything that's been stated that is actual, factual, by
Right,
documents. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about documents and video. They're still changing the color of whatever the pillow had red blood on it. So that wasn't blood. That was a makeup smear. That looks like a makeup smear to me.
right,
That knife on the ping pong table, that could have been the weapon. They didn't know at that point that wasn't the weapon. Okay.
right,
You
right.
see a gash in somebody that's been stabbed and it's that long or wide, and you see a little steak knife with about this wide.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It doesn't add up.
you might not have faith in MPD or ISP or the FBI being smart, but you have to know that a knife with a diameter that wide did not make a gash in somebody. I'd say the K bar is at least that wide, right? At least.
Yeah, it's like 2 inches wide, or you
Yeah.
talking about from like the
The,
edge to the
yeah,
dull
the
edge.
edge. Yeah. I mean, and do you see any blood on the knife? Where they
Well,
could have
also
washed.
too, that knife, people were And I love this. I love when people point out something. It's like, oh, I didn't notice that the first couple times I watched it. But they said there's no knife on that beer pong table, and then there is. Oh, something nefarious is going on. But if you listen to the audio when the officer is in Xana's room, you can hear the officer with Hunter by the beer pong table saying, "Give me the knife," and then you hear the sound of what I think is the sound of the knife being put onto the table. So it's not like, you know, if this was nefarious and the police are in on it, I don't think they're going to say on the open mic of a body cam, hey, Hunter, this is where you give me the knife. Remember, we rehearsed it. Come on, give me the knife. I put it here. Now it's here all of a sudden. It's just like,
You
I don't know.
knew you were supposed to clean it with bleach first before you gave it to me, dumbass. Because that amino black can show up protein. God. I mean, it is comical, but it's sad at the same time. I mean, it really is. It's kind of like reading the document or looking at. I looked at the 699 photos the other morning just for the sake of, right? You weren't that live, and I was going through them, but I wasn't talking about each and every photo, not very in depthly. I can't imagine going through and reading the 300 or 399 pages of documents and still be reading on those as if you're going to find something that the police didn't find, the FBI didn't find, all the people that you have to cross check your work didn't find. Because that's one thing people don't understand either. There's always somebody cross checking your work. So it's not like Payne didn't have somebody cross checking his work. Maori had somebody cross
Can you hear
checking
me?
their work. You know what I mean?
Can you hear me? Am I back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Wait, say
Yeah.
that again. I just got. Oh, there's a Hyundai Elantra. You know what? It's a 14 to 16. I can tell by those little bumper reflectors.
Jesus.
This one's a kind of a brownish copper though.
Oh, it's a tan sedan.
It's a tan sedan. It's a Walmart. I bet they're going in there to get cleaning stuff.
Or maybe the 1257 beanie.
I'm gonna pull up and say, "Hey, how long does it take to clean a house? 8 hours? Thought so."
Hey, how long did it take you to clean your Elantra? I want to know. From inside to out.
I think they should at the prison, if they had like a little pull up where you can pull your car into there and Bryan can wash your car for you. I bet he'd do a great job.
Jesus. I'm going to show you something. And I know people hate talking about the Elantra, but I'm only going to show this just for value reasons, okay? I know people hate it, but I'm going to show it. Because I found those 3 pictures that we were talking about the other night about Bryan taking pictures of the Elantra at his apartment.
Yeah.
I did a very short video on that, and it got over 1,000 views, which I was shocked.
And it didn't have the black bug catcher mustache thing on the front of it, right?
Hold on, I'm gonna get to that part.
Or am I ruining the surprise?
Sorry. No. Hopefully you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, it just took me a minute to figure out how to switch back from the chat to seeing you.
Okay, there it is. See, there's the multiple shots of the front of the Elantra when he got the license plate. The license plate changed, okay?
Uh-huh.
So there is no bug shield on these photos.
Well.
I wish I wouldn't have put this here, but there's not any bug. See, there's not one right here. There's not one on this picture either. But there's writing there. I have those pictures.
So it's like he was trying to, just like a disguise, like you would put a mustache on your face to disguise so nobody can tell who you are. It's like he was doing that with his car.
And somebody said he bleached his hair. Do you believe that?
Oh, for the plea hearing?
No, like when they arrested him, supposedly His hair was bleached,
Oh,
like
I don't
with
know.
highlights.
I'll have to look at that. I didn't really
Brian, do you have a mustache, bro? Is that a water bottle, or are you happy to see me?
when I think of, remember in Transformers where that cop, he's like, "Are you eyeing my piece, 50 Cent?" He's like, "It's like, no, I'm not looking at your gun. What are you talking about? You want to go for it? You want to go for it?" Oh, and then he was like, "Are you on drugs?"
Hold on a second. I'm going to pull up that. I just downloaded a couple of the pictures. And I'm going to show you the difference. The one with the eyelash looking thing and the other pictures without the writing. So can you entertain the crowd while I do this?
I can sure try. As long as
Okay.
I don't crash as I drive. I'm just going to pick my son up from work. But oh man, put me on the spot. Wait, let me
Come
switch
on,
back.
you're a performer. You can
Switch
do it.
back to the chat. So I could tell a joke, but
Well, I
all I have
got
is
him.
all I
No,
have is dad
don't do
jokes.
one of those offhand jokes.
But I tell you what, though, when it comes to like looking at the footage, and I mean the moment, like for so long we wanted to have that light bulb camera footage. We so wanted to see it, and just to verify that, okay, so that we'd have a 2 camera shoot. It's like in Wayne's World. Remember, he's like, take camera 1, take camera 2, take camera 1. But you take camera 1, here comes this Elantra coming into the little tiny neighborhood. And it's thankfully such a little neighborhood that in just a second, you ought to see him on camera 2. Take camera 2. There he is coming around. Take camera 1. There he is leaving. All the times line up, perfectly. So,
Well, here he has the eyebrow picture of the bug catcher. Okay,
uh-huh.
let me put the other one up here. How did I do that? And here are the four.
Hopefully they removed that thing and looked under
Here
it.
are the here are the
Fingerprints or
four.
blood.
Here are the four pictures, and you can see in the third one, you can see that better. So you don't see that. You can see the Hyundai emblem in both of these.
Right.
Here's the one with the eyebrow looking thing, and these are the ones that
Yeah,
he
so
took
that
over.
that black eyebrow thing covers the Hyundai logo just a little bit.
Yeah, and it also goes way over the lights. You
Yeah.
see? So there's no way that this or this one obviously can't see. And then I'm going to show you one more. Look. It's Green Lantern.
I'm telling you, if there's job openings for special investigators in Moscow, I'm sure they're looking at the same people that came up with these theories. They're going to hire them right away on the spot.
So if you look at his car and you look at this car, look at the left light and look at the ridge. There's a deeper ridge on the hood than there is on this hood. I know it's hard to tell, but you can see it on his hood really good right here. You can see these ridges on his hood. The line is really deep.
Like a bug catcher or something?
Where?
On the hood of the
Yeah,
car.
yeah, that like a hood deflector, like a bug deflector.
Bug deflector.
Yeah.
And so on this one, you don't see those deep ridges in the hood. So it's not the same car.
I would love to know, and I hope it's not the case, but that whole going off into the green Elantra theory. I pray that didn't come from that live stream we did with the infrared camera, where the green notebook appeared white.
I can almost guarantee it did.
Don't tell me I'm responsible. I don't want to be responsible for that nonsense.
Well, unfortunately, you probably were, because there was a lot of people that were in that chat that have been pushing that narrative for a long time.
Yeah.
In
And
these other pages.
I know Twiz was doing backflips. Yay, yay! You know, he proved it. He proved it. It's
So
you know,
here's
I wish I would have been a quicker thinker back then, because the notion of like, wait a minute, the notebook is made of paper and the car is not made of paper. So, you know, this is apples and oranges. We can't really compare the two, and we can't really learn that much, you know, from it.
I mean, they're still stuck that this is the same car. It's really not, because look at look at the grill and look toward the left. See that line that looks like a dimple? And there's one on the right hand side. It looks like a face. Like the the lights are the eyeballs. Now look out right under the quarter panel by the light.
You're just
It
trying to
looks
make me
like
scratch my truck, aren't you? It's like, hey, I
it
know you're
looks like a
driving, but look at
dimple.
this. Look at this.
It looks like a dimple. Now let's look at this one.
Uh-huh.
There's no dimple on this left hand side. You can see. You can see a little bit on the right hand, but you can't really see on the left. I don't believe that this is the car. I don't. You'll never make me believe it. And I'll stand by that.
Yeah, there was I mean, there was enough license plate on that green car that says to me that would be clearly visible if it was the same car. You would definitely see that same amount of license plate. But on the photos that they have of the suspect vehicle one, yeah, I didn't see anything that says to me, oh yeah, there's the same license plate wrapped around it.
That has a wide front to it. I didn't realize an Elantra had that wide of a front.
You mean the whole front, or the opening at
The ground effects, like under the lights, how wide that goes out, like the bumper and all that, you know? Wish this was a better shot. Good Lord. Let me see if I can get a better shot of that.
You know, do you think that there's any possibility that somebody that's thinking about doing a crime like that chooses a place where they haven't had a murder in like 7 years, right? And would they think to themselves, I bet they have like the worst security cameras everywhere because they don't need them. They probably don't lock their doors. Like I visited Rockport, Maine for this lighting workshop. This was many years ago, but we met some people that lived up there, and we all went out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We got to the restaurant bar. This person turned their car off and threw their keys up on the dashboard, like, you know, under the windshield. And I was like, "You're just going to leave your keys right there?" It's like, "Yeah, that's what we always do." And I was like, "My gosh, I can't imagine." You know, this is obviously a town that has very low crime, because you wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you, Jeff. I don't have much more. I mean, you know, I know how we like to talk about the Elantra for decades, but
Why
you
don't
know,
people like to talk about the Elantra? Is it just a dead horse?
I think it is. I think that, you know, they really don't see. Some people don't see it, and some people are just like, you know, it's been proven. It was the Elantra. Give it up. You know what I mean? That is the Elantra.
Right.
You know, no matter how bright the lights are, you know, in the camera footage, whatever. Wouldn't you expect bright lights off a car reflecting on a camera? I mean, or would you expect dim lights.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, no, the camera is the camera does its best work when it can identify things that are in very dark lighting situations. So that's what it's
right,
tailored for. And then you come in, it's like being in a dark room and your eyes are adjusted to the dark, and then somebody comes in and turns a flashlight and shines in your face. You're blinded because just the brightness to darkness ratio is just thrown way off. But I mean, the thing is like, and they were talking about like, oh, the Elantra, you can tell they're running the video in reverse. It's like, well, where
right.
there's that one frame where you can see the center rear window brake light is right there. It's like, does that not say that's the back of the car if you can't figure it out for yourself, or that the way that the car turns with following the path of the front wheels, the back wheels just kind of follow along, kind of in a lazy arc. But the thing
But
is like, I wish they would just come out and say, Jeff, look, we know, we agree with you. We know that you're right about these things. We know, we can see it, but man, it's kind of fun, right? We if we just agreed with you and just we'd have like a 20-minute live stream. We want 4-hour live streams. We want to
right,
keep it
right.
going. We want to listen to this sound. We've slowed it down, reversed it, turned it upside down. Now we're going to listen to it very slow. And I think I hear somebody say, Elvis is alive. It's like, really?
You know, it's been going on since the beginning of time. You know, play those records backwards, you're going to hear satanic music, right? And I bet those are the type of people that
Right?
they ruined so many good records back in the day trying to hear Satan say something to them.
Yeah. Or like that Beatles record, if you play it apart backwards, it sounds like it says Paul is dead. Paul is dead. And then
Yeah,
you had that whole conspiracy theory that Paul was killed in a car crash and replaced by a look-alike that just so happened to be an amazing musician and songwriter. you know, it's like, sure, yeah, that could happen. You're right. Yeah, that's this kind of stuff is nothing new. And the grassy
well, I
knoll
mean,
and the Zapruder film, Kennedy.
as long as we're going to have, I guess it makes the crime so much more interesting if you're talking about it in that retrospect, you know, like I guess the fuddy duddies like us, we can't take our minds there because we just know the coyote is never gonna catch the roadrunner, no matter what.
Right, right.
Elmer Fudd is never gonna catch Bugs Bunny. He's never gonna shoot him.
Yeah.
You know,
Or it's like that whole series, How I Met Your Mother. I mean, I think eventually it did at the very, very end explain how I met your mother, but that was the whole thing. It was like each episode was like teasing you, like this might be the episode where we let you know how I met your mother. But it never. But I really think that Bryan is fully aware that as long as there are unanswered questions, people will be talking about this forever. The moment he clarifies it and answers the questions, even though by now he's got to realize that even if he explained it, there would still be people that say, no, I know he explained every little thing he did, and he even has video of himself doing it. You
he
know?
did it under duress.
Yeah, yeah.
So the guard with a nightstick in his
It
back.
was it was an accident. Hey, Nanook.
You know, I don't know. But Jeff, I've enjoyed it, bro. We got 2 hours in, so I've enjoyed you being up here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Anytime that I'm free to do this, that's usually the thing that keeps me from doing it. But yeah, I'm glad all the planets aligned and we were able to do this today. This is
Hey,
awesome.
no death threats from the chat. No word calling or anything like that, you
I
know.
can tell I'm in the right neighborhood.
Yeah. Because we supposedly cuss people out every chance that we get, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
Anytime somebody doesn't agree with us, we cuss them
yeah.
out and block them.
I don't think we used the F word once the whole time we were talking.
I don't think so either.
Unbelievable.
I was
I thought
cussing. I was
I think those
cussing
other
before you
channels are
came up.
sponsored by the word, F. Each time they use it, I think they get $1.
Right, right. Or the C word, you know, it's just interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But you guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. Tomorrow's back to the grind, and you know, if you're working today, try to take it easy. You know, we know your struggle. Jeff, you be safe out there, man.
All right, you too. All right, I'm
All
signing off.
right.
Good to see you all. Sorry I didn't interact as more in chat, but on the phone it's a little difficult. And and we were flowing. I love talking to you, 12. Always a good time. You're a good friend, man.
Always, man. Always. Catch
All
you
right.
later, bro. All right, everybody. There you have it. If you didn't catch the beginning, Bryan supposedly creeped out more women, and not a good look, Bryan. So even though he is doing time, very long time, Bryan was doing the most out here with his lack of social skills. So hope that y'all enjoyed the presentation. Hit the like, subscribe, and share. And hope you keep coming back to the channel because, like Jeff said, we didn't use the F word one time. And we talked about logical things. We didn't paint Bryan as a evil deviant. We merely were just having conversation. But until next time, my name is 12 Gauge, and this is 12 Gauge Investigative. Like I always say, stay safe and watch your six. Maestro, cue that music.